Every form of addiction is bad, no matter whether the narcotic be alcohol, morphine, or idealism. Carl Jung said that, you might think addiction is about weakness, about poor choices, about someone who just can't say no. But what if that's not the real story? What if addiction is not a sign of weakness, but a sign of pain? Not a moral failing, but a human struggle for relief. You see, behind every addiction, there's a story no one else can see. A story that starts long before the first drink, the first pill, the first bet. It starts with a thirst, not just for pleasure, but for something deeper. For meaning, for connection, for a sense that life makes sense. Addiction is not about chasing highs, it's about escaping lows, it's about filling a void that feels endless. Have you ever felt that emptiness? The kind that sits in your chest, heavy and silent. The kind that no amount of distraction can erase. That's the void an addict knows all too well. It's not about being reckless, it's about trying to survive. The world tells you, just stop. But stopping isn't the problem is what do you do with the ache that remains? What do you do with the loneliness, the shame, the longing for something real? People say, addicts just want to feel good. But most addicts would settle for feeling nothing, for a few minutes of peace, a break from the noise inside. That's why substances call so loudly. Not because they bring joy, but because they bring relief. A numbing, a softening, a brief forgetting. But relief never lasts. The cycle always returns, the craving, the using, the regret, the promise that this time will be different, the reality that it never is. And every time the void grows deeper, the shame grows louder, the world grows colder. This is the hidden thirst Jung spoke of. A thirst not just of the body, but of the soul. A thirst for meaning, for wholeness, for home. Jung believed addiction is a spiritual problem, not just a physical one. He saw the addict as someone searching for spirit, for something sacred, something lost. He called it spiritus contra spiritum, the spirit against the spirits, meaning we use spirits, alcohol, drugs, to fill a spiritual void. But the void is never filled. The more we use, the emptier we feel. The more we chase, the further peace runs. Addiction is not about wanting more. It's about needing something you can't name, something you can't buy, borrow, or steal. That's why recovery isn't just about stopping. It's about finding what was lost, finding meaning, finding connection, finding yourself. The world judges the addict, but the addict is often just a person in pain, trying to heal in the only way they know how. The cycle is not a choice, it's a symptom of soul hunger. And that hunger is real. Let's talk about where addiction really begins. Not in the bottle, not in the pill, but in the earliest chapters of our lives. Many of us grew up with wounds we couldn't name. Childhood trauma isn't just a headline, it's a silent force shaping futures. Maybe it was neglect, maybe it was chaos, maybe it was just not feeling safe. Studies show childhood trauma dramatically raises the risk of addiction later on. Why? Because pain looks for relief. Gabor Mate asks, not why the addiction, but why the pain? That's the question that changes everything. The pain often begins before memory. A child who feels unseen learns to hide. A child who is hurt learns to numb. Many addicts are just grown children still carrying unmet needs. The inner child is not a metaphor. It's the part of us that remembers every wound. When those wounds aren't healed, we look for ways to soothe them. Substances become a bandage for the ache inside. It's not about chasing pleasure, it's about escaping pain. Emotional trauma disrupts the brain's reward system, making us more vulnerable to addiction. The brain, shaped by early hurt, seeks out what brings relief, even if it's temporary. Genetics play a part, but trauma often tips the scale. Some of us learn to suppress our feelings, to keep the peace or avoid punishment. Expressive suppression, bottling up emotions, can make the pain worse, not better. Suppressed feelings don't disappear. They fester and demand to be numbed. We learn to wear masks, to pretend we're okay when we're not. Addiction thrives in the gap between who we are and who we pretend to be. We become strangers to ourselves, living behind layers of shame and secrecy. The world sees the addict. We feel the lost child inside. Many of us never learned how to comfort that child. So we reach for something, anything, to quiet the pain. Substances offer the illusion of wholeness, a moment where the ache fades. But it's only ever an illusion. The relief is fleeting, the emptiness returns. Society rarely sees the roots, only the symptoms. But the roots are always there: disconnection, trauma, unmet needs. Loneliness is another silent driver. Studies show people with addiction feel more isolated than anyone else. Loneliness isn't just a feeling, it's a risk factor for addiction. When we lack real connection, substances can become our only friend. We use to fill the emptiness that relationships should have filled. Social isolation and stigma push us further away from help. The cycle deepens. The lonelier we feel, the more we use. The more we use, the lonelier we become. Jung understood this. He called addiction a spiritual thirst for wholeness. He saw that the sense of unity substances bring is powerful but false. That fleeting wholeness is what keeps us coming back, even as it destroys us. Jung believed only something equally deep, real connection, real meaning, can break the spell. He called this process individuation, becoming your true self, not just your wounded self. Recovery isn't just about quitting, it's about reconnecting with yourself, with others, with life. The journey is about healing the roots, not just cutting the branches. It's about finding the courage to face what hurt you so you can finally let it go. Because the roots beneath addiction are not weakness, they're wounds waiting to be healed. Addiction isn't just a battle of willpower, it's a battle inside your brain. Deep in your mind, reward circuits light up when you use, releasing dopamine and a flood of pleasure. This is the binge stage. The rush, the high, the escape you crave. But the brain remembers, and soon the pleasure fades. What's left is the crash. Withdrawal, anxiety, irritability, and emptiness. The brain's stress systems kick in, making normal life feel unbearable. You're not just missing the high. You're fighting a storm inside. This is the second stage, withdrawal and negative affect. Your brain's reward system is dulled, leaving you numb to ordinary joys. Even food, love, or laughter can't compete with the memory of the high. Stress chemicals flood your system, making you restless and on edge. The anti-reward system takes over, pushing you back toward the substance. The cycle tightens. The more you use, the less you feel, the more you need. Then comes the third stage, anticipation and preoccupation. Your mind obsesses over the next fix, the next escape. The craving is relentless, hijacking your thoughts and actions. It's not about wanting to get high. It's about needing relief. The cycle repeats over and over like a wheel you can't get off. This isn't weakness, it's your brain rewired by addiction. Every time you push away your pain, it grows stronger in the dark. Addiction is the shadow's cry for attention, a desperate plea to be seen. The shadow can feel dangerous, wild, even shameful. But Jung believed facing it is the only way to heal. Addiction is not a choice. It's a coping mechanism for pain you can't bear alone. It's the mind's way of surviving when nothing else works. Society tells you to just stop, as if it were that simple. But stigma only adds another layer of pain, shame, isolation, and fear. People judge what they don't understand, calling you weak or broken. That judgment can keep you from reaching out for help. Stigma is a wall that blocks recovery and deepens the cycle. You start to believe the world's labels, and the shame becomes part of you. Addiction is lonely enough without being treated like an outcast. But the truth is you're not alone, and you're not less than anyone else. Jung saw addiction as a universal struggle, not a personal defect. Within this struggle, archetypes rise up, patterns that play out in every addict's story. The hostage, trapped, powerless, desperate for freedom. The judge, harsh, critical, feeding your self-hate and guilt. Addiction is not the end of your story. It's a chapter, a crisis, a turning point. The cycle can feel endless, but every cycle can be broken. The shadow can be faced, not feared. Your pain is real, but so is your power to heal. You are not your addiction. You are the person who has survived it this far. The brain can change, the cycle can loosen, the shadow can be integrated. Jung believed healing begins when you stop running from your pain and start listening to it. The first step is to see addiction for what it is, not a choice, but a call for help. Not a flaw, but a wound that needs tending. The cycle may be strong, but so is the part of you that wants to break free. Every time you reach for relief, remember you're reaching for something deeper. Relief is not the enemy. Denial is. The journey is not about blaming yourself, but about understanding yourself. The shadow is not your enemy, it's your teacher. Every archetype holds a lesson, a key to your healing. The hostage teaches you about freedom. The judge teaches you about compassion. The madwoman teaches you about reclaiming your power. The killer teaches you about choosing life, even when it hurts. The cycle is real, but so is your capacity for change. You are not alone in this struggle. Millions walk this path with you. And every day someone breaks the cycle. Why not you? At the heart of addiction lies a spiritual void, a deep emptiness that substances can never truly fill. Jung called this the craving for wholeness, not just a desire for escape, but a hunger for meaning and connection. Picture it. You reach for a drink, a pill, a fix, hoping to silence the ache inside. But the relief is always temporary, and the emptiness returns deeper than before. Jung saw this cycle and named it spiritus contra spiritum, spirit against spirit. In Latin, spiritus means both alcohol and spirit. Addiction is a search for spirit in all the wrong places. When we are spiritually empty, we try to fill ourselves from the outside with substances, with distractions, with anything that promises relief. But the more we fill up on spiritus, the more spiritually starved we become. Jung believed only a spiritual experience, something equally powerful but truly nourishing, could break addiction's hold. That's why recovery isn't just about abstaining. It's about finding a new source of meaning, a deeper purpose. The journey isn't just physical or mental. It's a quest for something sacred, something lost. Think about the myths and symbols that have guided humanity for centuries. Stories of loss, transformation, and redemption. These stories aren't just entertainment, they are maps for the soul, showing us how to move from brokenness to wholeness. In recovery, symbols become anchors, reminders that healing is possible, that we are not alone. 12-step programs use symbols and rituals for a reason. They help us connect with something greater, something enduring. The addict's journey is a search for authenticity, for a place to belong, for a self that feels real again. Addiction strips away identity, leaving you feeling like a shadow of who you once were. Recovery asks you to rediscover yourself, to build a new identity rooted in truth and connection. Jung's insight was simple but profound. Only a vital emotional or spiritual transformation can heal the addict's soul. That's why so many who recover describe a spiritual awakening, a moment when hope returns, when life feels possible again. Every addict's journey is a hero's journey, a quest not just for sobriety but for a life that feels worth living. The crisis of addiction is not just a problem to be solved, it's an opportunity for profound change. Pain, Jung taught, is not the enemy. It's a message, a signal that something vital is missing. What if instead of running from pain, you listened to it? What if you saw your crisis as the beginning of a new story, not the end of the old one? The spiritual void can be terrifying, but it is also the space where new life can grow. Many who recover say their lowest point became the turning point, the moment they chose hope over despair. In that moment, connection matters most, to yourself, to others, to something greater. Spiritual practices, prayer, meditation, time in nature, help fill the void with meaning and peace. These practices aren't about religion. They're about finding what makes you feel alive, grounded, and whole. Community is another key. Healing happens in relationship, not in isolation. Support groups, therapy, and honest conversations help you remember you're not alone in your struggle. Jung called this process individuation, becoming your true self by integrating all your parts, even the wounded ones. The addict's journey is not just about quitting a substance, it's about reclaiming your lost self. The myths and symbols of recovery remind us that transformation is possible, even from the deepest pain. Every day, people awaken to new meaning, new hope, new life. The spiritual void can be filled not with substances, but with connection, purpose, and love. The search for meaning is at the core of every recovery story. Jung showed us that addiction is a call to wholeness, not just a curse to be endured. Other programs carry this wisdom forward, inviting each person to find their own path to spiritual fulfillment. The journey is ongoing. Every day brings new choices, new challenges, and new opportunities for growth. Pain is not the end. It is the beginning of healing if you let it guide you. What if you saw your struggle as a call to transformation, not a mark of shame? What if you believed that your emptiness could become the space for something beautiful to grow? The spiritual journey of recovery is about turning crisis into opportunity, pain into wisdom, emptiness into meaning. Jung's legacy lives on in every person who chooses connection over isolation, hope over despair. The addict's search for meaning is a universal story, a reminder that we are all seeking wholeness in our own way. Symbols, rituals, and stories help us remember that we are not alone on this path. Every meeting, every prayer, every honest conversation is a step toward healing the spiritual void. You are not just recovering from addiction, you are recovering your life, your purpose, your soul. The journey is not easy, but it is worth every step. Let your pain become your guide, your emptiness, your invitation, your crisis, your turning point. Recovery is possible, not just as an end to addiction, but as the beginning of a new, meaningful life. The spiritual void can be filled not with spiritus, but with spirit, with connection, meaning, and hope. Jung's wisdom is clear. Only a transformation of the soul can heal the wounds that addiction leaves behind. The search for meaning is not a weakness, it is the most human thing you can do. Recovery is not just about quitting a substance, it's about becoming your true self again. Jung called this process individuation, the journey of integrating your shadow and reclaiming your wholeness. At first, this can feel overwhelming, like rebuilding your life from the ground up. But every step forward is a step toward psychological wholeness, a more authentic you. Individuation unfolds in phases. First, you need care and nurturance, a safe space to begin. Early recovery is fragile, but also full of possibility for new growth. You are not alone. Connection is the lifeline that makes healing possible. Shame keeps you stuck, but understanding and compassion move you forward. Compassion is vital for yourself and for others walking this journey. Too often, we are harsh on ourselves and gentle with everyone else. It's time to turn that compassion inward. Shame says you are bad. Understanding says you are hurting and you want to heal. Guilt can motivate change, but shame only deepens the wound. Recovery means shifting from self-blame to self-understanding. Affirmations are powerful tools for this shift. They help replace self-destructive beliefs with supportive, healing ones. Try saying, "I am worthy of respect. My needs are valid. I am enough." It may feel strange at first, but repetition rewires your mind for healing. Affirmations are not magic, they're practice for a new way of thinking. With time, they chip away at old patterns and build self-worth. You gain the power to choose your responses, not just react from old pain. Choice is at the heart of recovery. I have to change my life. Recovery is a series of conscious choices, moment by moment. Every day you choose peace over chaos, hope over despair. But first, you must stop justifying destructive patterns. Rationalizations, excuses, denial, minimizing keep you trapped in old cycles. Notice when you say, "It's not that bad," or "I'll change tomorrow." These are barriers to healing. The first actionable step, stop justifying what hurts you. The second step, start affirming your true needs and worth. Write down what you need: respect, love, safety, and remind yourself daily. Affirmations can be simple. I deserve to heal. I am capable of change. The third step, choose your peace over chaos, one moment at a time. Serenity is not just a feeling, but a foundation for lasting recovery. When you feel the urge to return to old habits, pause and choose peace. Celebrate your milestones, no matter how small. They are proof of your progress. Recovery is not a solo journey. Connection is the antidote to loneliness. Let others walk beside you, share your struggles, and witness your growth. A supportive environment reduces stigma and helps you feel safe to be yourself. Open communication and trust are the bedrock of healing relationships. Set boundaries that protect your peace and support your growth. Remember, you are worthy of love, respect, and a life free from chaos. Affirm this daily. I choose my peace over fear. I choose connection over isolation. The process of individuation is ongoing, a journey of integration and self-discovery. Each day you become more of who you truly are, not just who you were in addiction. The shadow loses its power as you bring it into the light of awareness. Compassion, connection, and conscious choice are your tools for lasting change. You are not defined by your past. You are defined by your courage to heal. Let go of shame, embrace understanding, and move forward with hope. Recovery is possible, and you are living proof with every step you take. Choose to stop justifying, start affirming, and claim your peace, one moment at a time. Build your life on connection, compassion, and the belief that you are enough. Let your support system lift you up when you stumble and cheer you on when you succeed. This is your awakening, your chance to reclaim yourself and your life. You have survived the storm. Now it's time to grow in the sunlight of recovery. The journey is not easy, but it is worth every step. Write this down. I choose my peace over chaos. I am worthy of healing. Let these words guide you as you continue your journey of integration and awakening. Recovery is not just possible, it is happening right now with every choice you make.